Hey artists, welcome to your video on thumbnail sketches. In this video, we are going to define thumbnail sketches. I'm going to talk to you about how to find images, good reference images for your sketches, how to set up your paper, and then finally, how do you actually create these thumbnail sketches. This is a really important step in building towards your mask making, so we're going to start out with 2D stuff today and then eventually build into our 3D space in the future. So let's get started. Okay, so first we have to define a thumbnail sketch or a thumbnail. So basically you can think about it like notes for an artist. It's taking down some quick sketches of whatever it is you're observing or you're hoping to draw, but you're really only focusing on the shapes and the lines. There's not a lot of detail in a thumbnail sketch, and I want to emphasize that part about it being a quick sketch. Okay, so for the purposes of this project, your thumbnail sketches are all going to be the same thing. You are going to be doing thumbnail sketches of your animal's head. Okay, so you should have a minimum of 8 sketches, and think about it kind of from a 360 view, so all different angles and perspectives of the animal's head. Okay, so now we're going to talk about finding high quality images for you to be able to do your thumbnail sketches. What I would like everyone to do, we're going to start exactly the same for everybody to ensure that we get really nice photos. Okay, so you're going to get yourself to Google Images, or you can start with Google and just click the image tab, and then you're going to type whatever animal it is that you chose. Okay, then the word photography. And just for funsies, I'm going to add the word nature, because nature photography tends to be good for this type of a project. Okay, now this is where if you had a specific animal, like if you wanted to do the pygmy rabbit, you could click and sort. You know how to use the Google features, but basically you're going to look through, and the focus here is that you find several images that have different perspectives. Okay, so as I'm looking through here, I'm noticing there's some really nice profiles. Okay, so some really good kind of side views. I've got some great kind of 3/4 shots in here. So kind of giving me a little from the side. There's some straight on images that are quite nice. This is crazy. It's really hard to find from above type shots, but there's one of those. So that's kind of how I want you to be thinking as you're scrolling through. Some images are better than others. Like obviously that's not a real bunny, so that's not a good candidate. The filters don't always get everything. But basically you want to be looking for a variety. And when you find the images that you like, okay, what I want you to do is, let's just see. Yeah, this one's really nice. It's kind of unique actually. It's sort of from the back. It's a 3/4, but from the back. You have a couple options, right? You can drag that image and just sort of have it on your desktop. Hopefully it will actually copy. Or you can put those into a Google Doc. The key here is I want you to make sure that you have the images saved somewhere on your device, because I may be asking you to pull them up as we're looking at your sketches and as you're sort of getting that check to move on to the next phase. And so I want you to have these saved somewhere. We're actually going to submit your images along with your sketches in Google Classroom as one of the assignments. Okay, so that's kind of like the process that I want you to go through to find the images. If you're really struggling to find high quality images in a variety of angles of your animal, you may want to consider sort of shifting or broadening your category a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to talk about setting up your paper and getting it ready for sketching your thumbnails. So you'll remember you have to do a minimum of 8 different thumbnails, and really how you split up your paper is going to be up to you. Okay, you can split it down the middle, but basically you're just going to use your straight edge and kind of create a series of lines. So what I'm actually going to do, I think I'm going to try to split my paper into thirds and create 9 boxes. Maybe a few of a different size. split up my paper, and then depending on the specific images that you chose for your reference images, you're just going to kind of jot what perspective it is. So if I'm looking at my images, I have a couple 3/4 views. It looks like I've got a profile from the side, just to remember what that is. So basically you're gonna go through and kind of label each of your squares by whatever perspective you're looking at.
All right, so this is just a sped up clip of me labeling each of my boxes. I'm looking over at my images while I'm labeling and making sure that I'm giving myself little descriptions. So it's a bit of a roadmap when I decide to take my images and draw my thumbnails. So you can just kind of see me going through that now, labeling each of my boxes.
So now you've got your paper sort of set up, labeled, ready to go, and now what we're going to do is talk about how to actually do these beautiful thumbnail sketches. So we've made it to the best part, which is your actual thumbnail sketches. For this, you're going to need the sheet of paper you prepared. I have printed out a thumbnail for the sake of this demo, but if you have the files on your computer, it's certainly fine to just go from there. Okay. So I'm looking at the profile side. This is the example that I have. And what I'm going to do, I'll put it over here so you can see it. What I'm going to do to start, I've got just my pencil. Don't even need an eraser because these are going to be some really nice quick sketches. Okay, and you're going to take a look at your image, and what I want you to do is on that image just be looking for like major lines and shapes that you see. So when I'm looking at this little bunny rabbit here, I see this kind of like triangular shape. Okay, so the main part of the head looks kind of like a funky triangle. And then there's this line coming up for the ear, and the ear is kind of like a strange rectangle. And I'm not going to worry about much else. The body doesn't really matter, right? I've got a nose, there's kind of like this line here, and the eye might be kind of like that. So that's kind of what I'm looking for to start. If you decide that you want to, notice that I started super light. If you want to go in and kind of like refine a little bit, once you feel like the lines are in the right spot, you can go in a little darker. Maybe you want to put the nose in there. But really this is it, friends. You're looking for like those major components without getting too, and you'll see I'm being really loose. I'm not like going in with one line like this, or I'm not kind of like doing that thing that I see people do sometimes where you're adding in these like really soft fuzzy lines. I'm kind of just moving around and my eye is going back and forth. So I'm looking at my image and I'm putting down the lines that feel like the important ones as I'm going. Okay, nothing fancy schmancy. Nothing that has to be like perfect. That's the reason why I'm having you draw all these different angles, because you're gonna start to kind of put all of these views and all of these angles together as we move towards construction. Okay, now if you make a mistake, let's say I started and something went like horribly wrong, like I did a funky isosceles triangle or something. This is the beauty of having thumbnail sketches, is you just keep working. So if I get this line or this angle wrong first, I just go in and fix it. And I just kind of keep reworking. That's why I say to do it light first, because it's easier to cover up like a few little mistakes with a harder press on your paper. But you know, if you want to keep reworking it, you can start to kind of build up or build out. So looking similar but a little different. Build up what you're sketching. Okay, so there's not really a lot of mistake making in this thumbnail sketching, because you're literally just sketching. You're getting a feel for it by focusing, like I said, on the major shapes. Maybe this angle isn't quite right. It's a little severe here, so I can just tweak by going in a little harder. Okay, that's thumbnails, that's it. Let's give it a shot. So we have finished the thumbnails. We've got a nice array, a few different perspectives. You may have done some annotation, like this was a bunny that was totally different and much more floofy fluffy than the others, so I just made a little note to myself that this was a different kind of bunny, but you certainly didn't have to do annotation. Okay, so here's what you got to do. You're going to take your notes, you are going to bring your process guide with the feedback notes catcher on the back of it up to me and get it checked off. So this is step 4. So watching the thumbnail video and completing your thumbnail sketches. If you chose to do the Adobe sketch, you'll see that I've made that into a self-check. So if you did additional sketches on Adobe Sketch, then you can show those to me certainly, but that's a bit of like your own self-check, okay? If I take a look at them and they're looking really nice, quick check. If I have some feedback for you, like maybe you have too many of the exact same view, that might be something I'll have you jot down under step 4 on your notes and go back to the drawing board. Or I may ask you, like, can you show me your reference images for these few? If something's looking a little off, maybe a proportion is kind of funky or it seems like there's a part missing, I may ask you to bring me your reference images. So you jot something like that down. Okay, but once you get that checked off, you're going to move on to the next step, step 5, which is identifying the planes or shapes to start kind of thinking about your builds.